It's finally that time. Been over a year since I originally talked my girlfriend into playing through her first Dark Souls game. She's finally ready to tackle the final game in the trilogy. She's had quite the journey getting to this point, and it's safe to say this isn't the same girlfriend we saw fumbling her way through Dark Souls 1.
Dark Souls door open!
What I'm probably the most excited for is how this one stacks up. In more ways than one, it feels like a big love letter to the first game, so I can't think of a better game to wrap up her journey. It's finally time to make my girlfriend play Dark Souls 3. For her, the first few hours of gameplay that many consider the Souls player's initiation phase is already over. She's wrapped her head around the mechanics and has been playing like most of us do. She's had a steady IV drip of sun praising and lore since the beginning of this journey. So couple that with looking over my shoulder through the years, and it's safe to say she was getting overconfident.
Okay, that's definitely a trap. Like, that's straight up an ego trap. And you know what? I'm falling for it. I'm going back.
She walked into Dark Souls 3 feeling bold. Right out the gate, she said it felt the most Bloodborne out of the games she'd played so far. Returning to something similar to her favorite entry in the series gave her a lot of extra confidence. Of course, all the confidence in the world wasn't going to change that it's a Dark Souls game.
Oh, those bastards!
Initially, I thought it would be like watching her play Elden Ring, but I actually forgot how much stamina they give you in that game. It's for that reason that she had to dial back her aggression, because despite feeling like Bloodborne, it's not Bloodborne.
What the fuck? He just went full Bloodborne on me!
It took some time to retrain her brain, and it reflected in her gameplay. I think things being faster, coupled with the absence of a horse, really got to her head. She ricocheted between acting like a Hollow Slayer and being some scared old lady in a parking garage.
Oh my god! Ah! Ah! Oh my god! That scared the shit out of me! Can I even, like, go out and collect the shinies? Shit, no.
All of this is to say that the high wall represented a bit of an awkward phase for her, but as soon as she got her hands on the first heavy weapon, she grew out of it real quick, and all the pieces started falling into place.
Ooh.
With great speed comes great responsibility, and if you know anything about Dark Souls, you'll know that gravity is the most difficult enemy of them all.
What? Oh my god.
She kept complaining about how high the camera sensitivity was, and it wasn't doing her much favors.
They have so many ambushes. Oh my god, and I'm just dead. What the fuck?
The increased speed of things made her a little roll happy. She was stumbling off of just about everything without a guardrail.
Well, great.
It wasn't even a problem that the servers were still down because all the try jumping messages wouldn't have changed much.
Oh, god damn it.
Dark Souls 3 is overflowing with nods and callbacks to the first game in the series, so I was really excited to see her reactions to them after all this time.
Oh my god, Firelink Shrine! I mean, this doesn't look like Firelink Shrine.
What I hadn't considered was that the last time she saw this stuff, she didn't really take it all in. She was preoccupied with staying out of trouble and alive. This is my girlfriend we're talking about after all.
Hello there. Like, of course it's fucking locked. Okay, if I remember I have a key for you, I will come back. Can't make any promises.
Although, some things are just too memorable to go over your head, and those moments were probably my favorites.
Oh my god!
With as much old as there is to love, I think it's a mistake to focus too much on it all. The game is just brimming with new memorable moments, and I wouldn't want them to get drowned out by all the callbacks.
Oh my god, there's another one! What the hell? Wait, they're fighting each other! That's so cool!
It's been said that Dark Souls 3 is a lot more linear than its predecessors. It's got a handful of branching paths you can take, but for the most part, the game does a reasonable job funneling you down the intended path.
Oh no! I'm lost!
She pointed out how it felt a lot harder to get lost this time around, and in a funny way, she missed the labyrinth of interconnected paths and shortcuts. Out of all the locations in DS3, she said the Cathedral of the Deep felt like it did this the best, but even still, she felt it was a shame that it dead-ended after an underwhelming boss fight.
What the fuck? Kill the red boys, I guess.
In the past, she'd complete a boss and walk away feeling like it was tough or easy or whatever, but now she's developed something even more dangerous. An opinion.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like,
your opinion, man.
Like for instance, I can name 3 separate occasions in the past month where she's gone off on a tangent about the curse-rotted Greatwood tree.
Oh my god. This is such a shitty, disgusting boss. Like, what the fuck?
I'll be the first to admit it's not my favorite boss in the game by a long shot, but listening to her lay into this ugly thing almost makes me feel like I should apologize for it.
What the hell? Shouldn't it be dead by now? I mean, are you kidding me?
One playthrough of each game and now she considers herself a Dark Souls aficionado. We've turned her into a bit of a snob, it would seem. All jokes aside, it's crazy to me how much better she understands how these games works nowadays.
What? Am I in the abyss? Oh my god! What the fuck?
Obviously, it makes sense that she'd start picking up on the patterns and tropes the more she plays them, but it's always wild when I have moments where I'm like, wow, I just sat down and talked about level design with my girlfriend.
I can do that anytime I want.
She didn't come out and criticize anything too surprising. For the most part, she's still playing the games as a game rather than nitpicking every single little detail. But in other ways, I can see her starting to read into things a little deeper. It was actually really funny how close she'd come to hitting the usual criticisms that get brought up about DS3.
What the hell? Wait, I just lit one of those.
Parrying bosses is something I let her know she could do as early as Gundyr. I did it expecting to get some great moments of my girlfriend landing parries against these awesome bosses.
I parried him!
But what ended up happening was she died probably 1,000 times fishing for parries constantly. Sometimes on moves that couldn't even be parried to begin with.
Yes!
Watching her fish for parries and backstabs felt very reminiscent of Dark Souls 1, albeit she landed way more of them this go around. I'd say that telling her it worked on bosses was a mistake, but if I hadn't, we'd have missed out on moments like this.
Wait, come back! I got the parry!
Impatience is still one of her greatest enemies in these games. All it takes is dying once and she starts rushing to her bloodstain over and over again. As much as she likes to believe she's quick, she's always done the best with these games when she takes her time with them.
Steady, steady, steady.
Every game in the series teaches you that being cautious and thorough is the best way to get your souls back. But if she hasn't learned it by now, she may never.
God, I fucking hate Basilisks.
Hollowing works a little differently in this one, and she was pleasantly surprised to learn that she wasn't grotesque after each death. If you played the game before, you'll know that there's still a way to experience hollowing, but fortunately for her, she didn't complete the proper side quest to see it happen. Oh well, I don't think any of us were expecting her to get the secret ending anyways.
This is gonna ruin my dress.
After Dark Souls 2, you might remember that my girlfriend pretty much tossed her Estus out the window in favor of the life gems. Thankfully, Dark Souls 3 was able to restore her humanity, and her love for Estus along with it. Not only is it a faster animation, but her dream of being able to walk and sip is now a reality. As the shiny collector she is, she always looked forward to finding a new Estus shard to upgrade the flask.
Oh my god. There's just like a dead guy. Bone shard! And I got an emote!
Probably what was the most funny, she never allocated her Ashen flask. I noticed it pretty late into her playthrough, but didn't have the heart to tell her.
Oh my god, where is he? Almost fucked that up.
If there's one thing Dark Souls 3 did that hurt her trust the most, it's all the second health bars. I think across the entire series, Dark Souls 3 is the worst culprit of pulling the rug out from under you when you think you've won by throwing in another health bar.
Yeah, I saw that coming from a mile away.
The first few times it happened, it wasn't such a big deal, but it got so consistent she was asking me before every boss fight if there was going to be another health bar. I always sat there with an evil grin on my face as she dealt what she thought was the finishing blow before having to come to terms with the fact the boss music was still playing.
Oh my god, I knew it! Can anything just stay fucking dead in this game? You knew that was gonna happen, didn't you?
With all the different callbacks and nods to Dark Souls 1, it seems only fitting this would be the game to cap off her Dark Souls journey.
Holy shit. Huh? I've been here.
In the same way so many of us felt a connection with this series, it holds a special place for her as what started this journey to begin with.
Oh, yeah. Another health bar. Uh-huh. Okay. Oh, he's jumping at me. Plid, plid, plod! Instant forgiveness! Woohoo! I did it! Ah!
Even though this marks the end of an era for her, by no means is she finished with Souls. There's still loads of content she missed out on across the series, and it's way too much fun to let it all go to waste. Nah, she's not done yet. She's just getting started. We've got plenty to do between all the DLCs, and hopefully next time there will be support for jolly cooperation as well. For the time being, she's earned herself a break, but don't count her out just yet. Word on the street is her favorite outfit is still hiding out there somewhere. And you ought to know by now, Fashion Souls is the only encouragement she needs. We'll make a completionist out of her yet.
Oh my god! Andre!
Well, a newcomer, I see.
I was!